In this video, I'm gonna explain exactly why the new DCU needs to take inspiration from Zack Snyder's Justice League if it wants to survive, and why James Gunn should have been fired already. And by the end of this video, my points and reasoning are gonna be so good that you're probably gonna start agreeing with me after this video, even if you're a James Gunn glazer.
And I'm not gonna lie, James Gunn might be the most consistently great comic book filmmaker we have out there. Consistently great. So pretty much everything on this list is an absolute banger.
I'm surprised to see that no one's really talking about the reason why James Gunn's movies aren't doing well. If you don't know what's been happening, James Gunn's spot as the conductor of the new DCU is being threatened, which is honestly great news, since every single project he works on turns out trash, at least for the new DCU. I mean, if you need proof, just look at all the flops that have already happened, from Suicide Squad back in 2021, to the Peacemaker show, to Creature Commandos, and the new Superman movie too. And I'm not just saying this because they all didn't make a profit, because the movies and TV shows themselves are all low quality Guardians of the Galaxy ripoffs essentially. Since James Gunn can't make serious DC media, I went back and watched Zack Snyder's Justice League to see what the future writers can learn from it if James Gunn gets fired or let off or something. Because we can all agree that we don't want Man of Tomorrow, we don't want Peacemaker Season 3, we don't want Clayface, we don't want that new Supergirl. James Gunn, you can keep that. And although I can admit that Zack Snyder's Justice League isn't perfect and it definitely has some flaws, we can all admit that it's still better than whatever DC project James Gunn has put out. And if the DCU scriptwriters saw what I'm about to say, the DC universe would be so much better than it is right now. I actually have two explanations for why the new DCU is failing, and I actually have three, but the last one some people might consider controversial, so I'll just save that point for the end of the video. And that's what leads into my first point on why the Justice League is better than the new DCU projects. My first point is that the new DCU has to subvert story expectations, and not the canon necessarily, just the story trajectory and what happens in the story. Because if we're keeping it a buck, modern superhero movies and just TV shows even, they're just so boring and predictable, and they play it safe with the storylines and what happens, especially in Superman. If you watch Superman, you know that movie was just boring, because there was nothing surprising or interesting about the story or the characters. All the characters were clearly good or clearly bad, and I guess you could say the motive of the parents in Superman, that was a twist, but ultimately it didn't have a single impact on the main story. Contrast this with Zack Snyder's movies, especially Justice League, where Snyder took a lot of risks to make sure the story was extra riveting with all the crazy amount of twists. Like, for example, in Batman vs Superman, I know that we were all extremely surprised and shocked to see Superman die at the hands of Doomsday during that huge battle. And to make things even crazier, they managed to find a way to revive Superman from the dead using a mother box, and they managed to all band together as the Justice League to defeat Darkseid. And I forgot to even mention that they had this crazy fight where as soon as Superman's revived, he doesn't have his memory, and he turns against everyone and is fighting the whole Justice League. And I think that is crazy that Zack Snyder thought of the idea to make Superman fight against all the rest of the Justice League members in a plausible way that doesn't sacrifice the canon in a choreographed fight, and then make sure that they make up together and work together to defeat Darkseid. I mean, it makes sense why Zack Snyder's movies have such mixed reviews and why he has such of a cult fan base now, because he was willing to take risks that could potentially make the story excellent if executed right, and I think he did for the most part, as opposed to James Gunn's movies, which keep it safe, are politically correct, all the characters are bland and unforgettable, or just naive. Cough cough Superman. And that's probably why it didn't resonate with foreign audiences, because they saw through the fakeness of the storylines and just the blandness and the lackluster messaging, and they just didn't resonate with what the movie was trying to convey, I guess. To illustrate my point better, let me give you guys an example of how the new DCU can perfectly subvert people's expectations, in a good way, of course. So we all know who the big bad was in the Marvel Universe, right? It was Thanos, and he was pretty cool, and it was nice to see him face off against everyone in Infinity War and in Endgame, and everyone liked it, right? It's funny because at the same time, DC was trying so hard to make the DCU work and make Darkseid the main villain. They released the same movie twice because it wasn't getting any traction. And with all these releases with a huge big bad as the main villain, I think it just shows that we need to switch up for the culmination of the new DCU. No more Thanos, no more Darkseid, no more Brainiac type of villains anymore. I think we need something a lot more different and something that'll subvert the audience's expectation. Like, instead of a big bad, the ultimate threat could be a bioweapon, something that infects the entire population, and the Justice League has to band together to save the entire human race. Kind of like Starro a little bit. I know the Suicide Squad kind of covered that idea, but that movie was trash, so it doesn't count. Or the quote-unquote big bad can be a way to introduce a lesser-known villain that is working behind the scenes, kind of like Vandal Savage. You can't lie, it would be very intriguing for there to be the normal same old villains being taken down, just for there to be a bigger, more intricate plot with an unknown villain controlling things behind the scenes, kind of like in Young Justice. These are just alternative ideas that I came up with off the top of my head. I'm sure you guys could come up with better conflicts for the new DCU in the comments too. And imagine, if we could come up with this, then scriptwriters and directors literally getting paid a salary to do this should be able to come up with something more creative than what they've already been doing right now. And that's what leads into my second point, that the new DCU needs to stop trying to be like Marvel. Let me say that again just so it's obvious. They need to stop trying to be like Marvel. The writers need to act as if the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe never existed, because you can just tell by the style of writing and the poorly written humor that mimics the washed post-game MCU that either the writers can't get Marvel out of their heads or the higher-up executives are pressuring the film crew to mount up to the success of the MCU by copying it. As unfortunately, that is the logic of corporate higher-ups of entertainment companies nowadays. The main thing I'm trying to say is that they don't have to do what the MCU did to be successful. I can already tell they're going in that direction by the way they're categorizing the announced movies so far as phases and feeling the need to give a movie or TV show to every major superhero regardless of the interest level. I'm sorry, but some superheroes and some characters just don't deserve a full-on TV series. Cough cough, Green Lantern. I'm sorry for all the Green Lantern fans out there, but who knows, maybe that's just my opinion and everyone actually loves Green Lantern. What they should do, that the MCU kind of did with Civil War, is have different genres of movies within the cinematic universe if they're insistent on having one. Which is why I low-key feel like making a Clayface horror movie was a step in the right direction. Cause that way some movies could be cheery, some more serious, some more thought-provoking than others, and some more drama-filled. That way a much-needed refreshing take on the tried and true formula of superhero universes for DC can be had. It's for this exact reason that I think James Gunn should be fired, or at least be put on a leash, so he doesn't direct every single DC movie and show from now on and run the new DCU into the ground. Cause I've already been saying this, but it's pretty clear now that with the Peacemaker finale bombing and the Superman honeymoon phase ending, that James Gunn can only make one type of movie. A movie about the same disillusioned crew of quirky heroes who end up just being corny, and they all play out like Guardians of the Galaxy. And it's funny that they all play out like that movie because there's 3 of them already. So they're really running this trope into the ground. I just know it would be so much better with the people behind the Penguin show having a much bigger role in the new DCU moving forward. If you haven't checked out the Penguin show on HBO, you gotta check it out. It's a great show. But that concludes my 2 main points on how the new DCU can learn from Zack Snyder's Justice League. But I still got one more point I gotta get off my chest. And what I'm about to say is quote unquote controversial, if you can even call it that. So if you're a sensitive person, just leave the video now. What I wanted to say is that the new DCU needs to stop with the overt and very cringeworthy leftist political messaging that is constant in basically every single piece of entertainment nowadays. And you'll see this especially if you're a noticer. Like, for example, the scenes where Peacemaker got transported to a timeline where there was white supremacy everywhere was so cringe. I think it's called Earth X. It's the Nazi universe, I'm pretty sure. Especially since it's pretty clear that it's supposed to be an allegory for the current political climate right now, which is just beyond dumb. It's bot activity, bro. And it just goes back to the point that people go to see entertainment like movies, TV shows, and video games to relax and enjoy themselves, not to be lectured by miserable liberals who don't even care about the actual product and only care about furthering their agenda. I mean, it's already happened to countless amounts of video games, movies, and TV shows, so the fact that it's happening with the new DCU is something that just needs to stop. But if the new DCU directors, writers, filmmakers, just everyone that's involved with the movie making process, if they follow all the things that I said in this video, I can guarantee that the movies will be 10 times better than what they already are right now. And as it's going right now, the DCU is not in a good spot, so let me know in the comments what you think they need to do to make it a lot more interesting and successful in the future. But that's all I've got to say for today. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching, and leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time.